Hello folks, Ferengi on board here with another video. This time I thought about creating a video about advertisements and, well, the points why advertisements can become so aggressive with someone's mind. One of the important things to note nowadays, and, well, most likely ever since today forwards, the point is that there is a new currency that is kind of taken way more into account that people would actually expect or even believe in some cases. And this new currency is called attention. There is a quote that says, "Whoever has your attention has control over you." And that is why you will see so many people and so many services, and actually, like, everything in this world is desperately trying to steal your attention. Or, if they are trickier than that, make it sound like or feel like they're not stealing your attention but just taking a little bit of that. But still, the time spent towards anything that is not productive towards you is still time spent unproductively. And the reason why attention is so important is because attention is what guides your energy. Basically, people and everything is vampirizing you based on how much attention you give them. When you have people that piss you off and you can't get your mind off of them, it's just because there are some different entities that have targeted you. And spiritually speaking, these parasites are now in your mind, and whatever they do is something like always pressing your buttons so that you create emotional pain, which eventually feeds them. And that's how also advertisements work. They implant certain aspects within a person's mind because they have more than just images. They have some malicious coding, let's say, that makes them hard to remove. And once you see a certain even the excerpt of a certain advertisement, it will stick to your mind. It doesn't necessarily have to, drill into your head the name of the product. The colors are usually specifically chosen for that, and the repetitiveness, if you actually get to listen to them more and more, the repetitiveness of those excerpts will just improve the implant that you are put into your, let's say, spiritual bodies around your mind or whatever. It is said that a type of entities prefers to implant people in the temple area of the head, placing an implant on each of the sides of the head, and those implants will farm people of energy by making them speak with themselves a lot and distract themselves with that, because they create a little bit of pain within because they are not doing the things they want, and usually people will initially not realize that they are distracting themselves with things like that, like explaining themselves things, or in my case, going through things again as if I teach them to other people, which sounds very logical and great, but it is still a way of distracting myself instead of focusing on one thing and then, just keeping up with that. So the point with advertisements is that they are a way to farm people's attention, especially if they spend too much time on the television. Their purpose is to just keep you busy and keep you distracted from anything that you would want to do. So the question is, what do they possibly show you in terms of spirituality? Well, advertisements will always be aggressive, and most likely they will get more and more aggressive because it's the way they get your attention. If you don't advertise your product nowadays, you don't exist. And where your attention is, that's where your attention will go, because where attention stays, well, where you point your attention, that's where own energy will flow. So the more they keep you captivated by them, or more like enslaved rather than captivated, the more energy they farm from you, the more energy they drain from you. It's not necessarily something that will, drain you completely, but at least they get a little bit. And if you stay and think, a little bit from here, a little bit from that, a little bit from that more, and that is why most empathic people will dislike living in huge towns because uh, large cities and metropoli are filled with these flashy advertisements like literally everywhere around you, and all of these actually continuously drain you of energy because even if you don't look at them, you still hear them. They still interact with your auric field, and it's basically a rape from all directions. What I felt in a way is that the mind works in different ways, also based on what entities actually affect us and how they influence us, based on what we lack within us. And it is a point that came to my mind, and I wanted to share it. It might not be 100% true, but the point was that people who are very fragile to advertisements usually have a sense of wanting to be punished in life and wanting to be abused in life. There are a lot of people who actually watch advertisements with pleasure, and that is because some entities found a certain weakness in them and they make them look that they're doing something good when they are doing that. Or the second part, they will distract themselves with the such because they have problems in life that they are running from. The way parasitic entities work is by jumping from people to people and making sure they get to know their weaknesses very well. And one of the traditional ways of keeping people at a lower vibration is by matching them, like really even matchmaking them, like in video games. And once these people meet, these entities will make them function in such a way that they will naturally be drawn to the other person, while the other side they are doing their own personal schemes, let's say like that, to make sure that those people form a very powerful bond initially, so that it will be hard to break, emotionally speaking. And even if it is broken, those people will create so much pain that those entities will still be fed for a long time afterwards. And the way most entities work is they just set in your or around your spiritual bodies, and they just create a little contact with it by piercing it with certain parts of themselves. Some say tentacles, some say extensions like flagels or whatever, and they just inject a certain code in that, which almost instantly gets into your mind, and your mind will come up, as a result, will come up with an idea to do a certain thing. Now, if you become very good at monitoring your thoughts and seeing what repetitive aspects come into your mind, well, that's a sign that you have such entities, especially if it's about doing things that you don't naturally like, or you don't feel like truly attracted to those. Or that sometimes it can be something that you actually like and it's about overdoing it, because this way you are running away from some problems, and subconsciously speaking you are knowledgeable of that, and that also causes a little pain, which, guess what, actually feeds them, which leads in turn to, and in time, to faster and faster energy deprivation, which results in why most people feel numb and why most people feel tired. So, as of what I see, advertisements are highly related with the idea of abuse and wanting to be abused because of very low self-esteem, and that is a great invitation for parasitic entities and anything of the such. You don't need to necessarily have parasitic entities. You just need a lot of negativity in your mind, and what you focus on will eventually expand, and you will only focus on what you think of, so you will focus on your failures, on whatever is negative about you. And people with a very low self-esteem have these passions to become somewhat masochistic. They feel a lot about being punished in life because they believe they're not doing the right things. They even might be conscious that they're not doing the right things, so they just think about these negative ideas, like wanting to be punished, wanting to suffer in the name of others, wanting to please others just so that they can suffer. And these are just clear signs of entities controlling them, because a person naturally does not like those. So this video was more about entities and another way they can infiltrate your mind rather than advertisements specifically, but in the end each and everything has a certain vibration and everything will guide you towards your current vibration. If you have a higher vibration, you will naturally dislike many things, including advertisements and such, and you'll probably even have some aversion towards them. But usually the higher in vibration you go, the more naturally you will disregard them, and the stronger your shields will be against infiltrations. The greatest shield one could have is self-love, because that's what increases one's vibration so much, and love is not something that parasites can actually feed on, unfortunately. Also, the greatest vibration would be that of gratitude, because through gratitude everything becomes much more positive, and through true gratitude people can actually become better and better themselves and escape from the grasps of negativity and what all those vibrations actually come up with. Another point, and a last one to take into account, I had a previous video that says about the pendulum effect. And the pendulum effect means that whatever anyone or any being in this world thinks about a certain idea, that idea starts whirling around that thought, because that thought becomes a kind of a black hole that keeps all the ideas that are thought about that by each and any and every one entity, be they physical, biological, or whatever. And all those thoughts will start whirling around those ideas on and on and on forever. That is why empathic people will end up with all sorts of weird ideas. Well, they call them weird ideas that come into their mind when they watch a certain show, when they think about a certain streamer, or when they go with their car and, I don't know, they reach a part of their town they've never been before and they suddenly have some flashing thoughts about, I don't know, a car accident or a certain fear they might have picked up. And the reason why they have picked up that was because they thought about that crossroads. And everyone who goes around there will think about that and they will leave those thoughts behind them. Like, so many people have so many fears, like, what if someone will come at a great speed and crash into me? Like, what if I don't do this? What if I don't do that? And literally all the areas in a hometown, in your town, in your village, or in your metropoli that you might have visited, all those parts are basically filled with all these thoughts that have been scattered by people. And this effect, the pendulum effect, works with literally everything. Any site that you visit, any thought that you think of, you leave it around there. And when people access that site, they also may pick up your own thoughts, especially if they are negative, because the lower vibrations are much more frequent. And that is it with this thing. It's advertisements are everywhere and people will think of those, and the pendulum effect will actually have all those ideas stick to those advertisements, and the advertisement itself has a certain vibration. It might be higher, it might be lower, and it will automatically draw in especially those thought types that people had that have a similar vibration. And a certain advertisement will usually draw you to that vibration, at least temporary, just by you having listened to it, especially if you don't have a good control of your mind. And that's when a lot of the ideas that people and other entities thought about that ad can actually get into your mind and will get most likely into your auric field, because you've allowed your vibration to drop enough so that they can actually get on board you. It's like connecting to a site that has viruses. You will also get those viruses, more or less of those, but you will definitely get them, because by connecting to something you get downloads out of that based on the vibration that you have. So the idea with this is a very strong and deep thing that people will have and surely should take into account, because it's all about your mind, it's all about your private space, it's all about the energy that you have. The more energy you can be drained of, the better in a way. And also this leads to feelings of worthlessness because you cannot defend yourself. so many people fall into this trap, and even entities use these advertisements before they appear, or as they appear. They know what kind of people and which people they can actually impact, because they never sleep. They don't need sleep, because if they sleep and they can't sleep, they can't replenish their own energy. That is why they become parasitic. And they travel the world all the time, and they know what people they will impact. So you might be a target of several of these entities before a certain ad occurs, and they will try to make you subconsciously watch the TV or do a certain thing that will get your attention to watch that ad, and specifically, um, like, give it a bit of attention, and your vibration will match it, at least for a bit. Not always, but if it does, you will download a bit of the filth that people have thought of uh, thinking of those ads, like irritation, frustration, and the such, and you'll draw on that bit by bit, and it would add to the trash that you have inside, which makes you far more comfortable and compatible with corresponding parasitic entities. So, without further ado, it's clear now, much more clear, hopefully, that entities will make you watch certain excerpts of ads or the whole ads, and that's why most people will exhibit this passion that they like certain ads, because naturally they don't like something that disturbs them, but their mind is so filled with such entities and such thoughts and ideas and implants about ideas that pull them down, that they simply cannot disallow them from doing that. They're basically just a farm for entities, and that's the case with so many people. You cannot help them, because this is too deep for many people to observe, and especially if they're trapped in the matrix, it's like you're gonna need a lot of lifetimes to wake them up and have them look inside them at such a deep level. So the point that I'm saying is that at least try to save yourself first before you can save others. Now, do not get like over scared about this, because it will only feed these entities. Just try to become better and better at detecting things, become more and more introspective, and you'll see that there are voices that will communicate with you. Do not be afraid to communicate with those voices, because the more truer you are with yourself, and the more authentic you become, and the more gratitude you feel, you will be targeted by positive entities, and they will naturally come to you. Sure, there will be dark entities who will want to contact you as well, disguised as positive entities. But if you want to make sure that those negative entities cannot target you, the question is, what subconscious thoughts are you also putting out? Because what you attract towards you doesn't come based on the positive energy that you put out. It's also based on the negative, on all types of energy that you put out consciously and subconsciously, because that creates a spectrum, and you only allow entities to contact you based on that spectrum. If you have hidden fears, and if you have a lot of subconscious wastes that give in to low self-esteem, you will attract such entities as well. Everyone will be targeted by negative entities, especially the ones who are very positive, because negative entities will want a piggyback towards positivity. Many types of demons actually are cleansers of negativity, but they themselves become so infected with that they actually need someone to create a pact with. But unfortunately, they are so low vibrational after they've done their work for so long that simply they cannot do much more. So they will attach themselves to people who they might help, but unfortunately most people will just remain negative. When a demon attaches itself to a person, they want to feel the opposite of what they feel. So some will be demons of, I don't know, negativity, self-destruction, but they would initially be entities of success. And they've taken on so much negativity that they need a powerful person, a powerful human, to learn this and observe them and find them and communicate with the demon, because that's the only way that you will, well, a direct way that you can actually enlist that demon to help you instead of drain you and do all sorts of negativity. Because the lower you go in vibration, the more prone you are to stay there, and demons are not exempt from this. Without further ado, I will speak about such things in other videos. If you are interested, feel free to subscribe and comment in the comment sections about this. And until next time, Ferengi on board signing out. Don't forget also that life is awesome and so are you.